All right, we are here for the next episode. This is the Dirty Money Podcast. It
Woohoo.
just feels good to say
Feels
that. It's
good.
just so fun.
Yep.
And for those of you who don't know, this is the guy here, the legendary Dennis Yasko, who helped me come up with that name, which was super
It's a great
hilarious. We were
name.
texting about it, and it was just genius.
It really is. I mean, it's basically what we're doing, man. We're taking dirt and making money. That's it.
Yeah.
I love it. I feel
Yeah.
like I'm really living out my New Jersey roots with this, you know?
You got all the
dirty-
expensive dirt in the Northeast.
Yeah. Yeah, my Italian roots, I got that dirty money, got to clean it somehow.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That'll be episode 3, cleaning the dirty money, but we won't be going into that on this episode. So guys, for those of you who don't know, Dennis Yasko is a good friend of mine out in New Jersey. We've known each other a long time. And at some point, and Dennis will tell us soon, Dennis switched from doing some pretty major fix and flips to doing land flips, where he's buying land for less expensive and flipping on the market. So we're going to talk about why he made this choice and then what that business has looked like. So Dennis, the superhero origin story, the bat signal goes on and Dennis appears, but how did this start?
So it's actually kind of funny. So like I was flipping houses for years. We were doing started out as an electrician and we were doing houses and stuff like that. And a friend of mine was like, "Hey, you want to flip a house?" I'm like, "Cool, let's do it." No idea what I'm doing. So he's like, "Yeah, just come in. My brother's a real estate, like a mortgage broker. He'll bring you in and you do all the electrical." I'm like, "Great." 19 years old. Cool. I was hungry. So just started doing that. And then he gave me 1, gave me 2, gave me 3. Next thing you know, he just started buying blocks of houses, 10, 12 houses at a clip. And I would just go in there. I'd grab a crew of like 6, 7 guys and be like, "Dude, we're going here for the weekend," and just wiring up all these houses. And I'm like, "Cool, I'm making like 5, 10 grand each house. This is awesome." Well, come to find out, I find out he's making like 70, 80, 100 grand a house. And I'm like, I got to find out what you're doing. Right. So that's how I got into flipping. And then years later, I kept doing them on my own. I bought a Homevestors franchise, found out about Sub2 actually through Homevestors, because that's how I found out about Pace, and then did that. So that's kind of what got me into all this stuff. Kept scaling up, and then eventually we got into buying hotels. We were buying large multifamily hotels.
That's
like
right.
That. Yeah.
I remember you and I, we were on a Zoom and you were starting to tell me about you were evaluating the number of keys. I was like, this is so interesting. So you did all kinds of cool stuff.
Oh, yeah. I went down the rabbit hole. We did it all, midterm, short term, everything we did. Started going down to hotels. I had 5 hotels under contract at the time. We were buying, 2 in whatchamacallit,
and like the Florida Keys, I thought at one point, right?
We had one in not the Keys, in
the Virgin Islands,
St. Lucia.
Yeah.
Yep. 1 in St. Lucia, 2 in Branson, Missouri, and then 1 in Townsend, Tennessee, which is like right outside of Gatlinburg. And then there was another little motel that we were looking at in Florida. So we started looking at that, and I was like, cool, I like this. This is great. I'm going to get to go to these destinations and all that stuff. I thought that was going to be my path, right? And I'm looking at it. I'm like, this hotel came up in Townsend, and I'm like, I'm going to go look at it. So I talked to the guy. He's like, if you're serious, you'll fly out here and you'll look at it. I said, I'll be out there in 2 days. Boom, hopped on a flight, flew out to Tennessee, went, looked at the hotel. I was sitting there, and I'm like, cool, I'm underwriting it. I'm like, all right, so I'm going to do this. We're going to buy this hotel. We're going to rehab it. I'm going to hire new employees. I'm going to start this business, get everything going, and then I'm going to go ahead and like turn it around and sell it in 3 years. And my exit, I'll make $1 million. So in my head, I'm making $1 million in 3 years. Okay. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be awesome. I obviously have to pay people after that and everything like that. And it sounded great. Well, this guy that I'm talking to, he's like, I was like, so why aren't you keeping this? You live locally, this and that. It's a great hotel and all that stuff. He's like, nah, I don't do that. I do land. I'm like, what do you mean? And then he was like, yeah, you want to see what I do? So he brings me down to this side of a mountain, and he shows me. He's like, I bought this for $400,000. I'm like, cool. He goes, yeah. So we went in, we added some roads, and then I sold individual lots, and I sell off the lots on seller finance. I'm like, awesome, cool. He's like, then I bring in the builders come in, they build the houses. I oversee it and I project manage for it because I live locally, whatever. I'm like, cool. He's like, yeah. And then I own the HOA and this and that. I'm like, oh, well, this guy's really into it. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I think on this land alone, I probably made about $12 million. I'm like,
excuse me?
my jaw hit the floor. I was like, what? On land? And he's like, yeah. He's like, we kind of went through the whole thing. He's like, we developed it, but didn't really develop it. We had other people do it, but I just made the connections along the way. And he's like, I have hundreds of seller finance notes on land that I own all throughout this thing. And I'm just getting a residual income off that. And, he's like, that's just one of my projects. He's like, here's another one. And he shows me this. I'm like, you could do this with land? Like mind blown, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what got me into the land space. And that's what got me thinking. I'm like, if people are doing this with such simple asset classes like dirt, why am I not? Why am I fighting contractors and like doing all this stuff and like gonna hire people and have like 100 employees at this hotel to make $1 million when I could just go buy land and make $1 million? Like, it makes no sense. So
it's wild. Like the first time that you hear about the potential, it's kind of like when you first heard the potential going from 10,000 a job to 70,000 a job, you go, what the heck do you even mean this is out there?
Yeah.
And then you encounter something totally different again and say, well, why didn't I hear about this before?
Yeah, exactly. It just blew my mind. So that's what got me down the path. And I started going down and I was like, who's the best person in the land space right now? And like, because I wanted to start from the bottom. I'm like, what's the basic, like flip a piece of dirt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Buy and sell. Okay, cool. Who's the best in the space right now?
So I went, basically, like, is that kind of what you Googled, like just basics of land flipping kind of?
Yeah, I was like, what is land flipping? What's land investing? All this stuff. Kind of went down this rabbit hole and like figured out all the people that are in it, right? I talked to Callan Faulkner. I talked to Sumner Healy. I talked to a whole bunch of people. And I ended up working with Sumner Healy. And he showed me the ropes, everything that we do.
Yeah.
And, because of that kind of got me into the basic flipping stuff.
Right.
And I knew that I wanted to get into the bigger things.
So just describe for everybody, what does it mean to flip land? What are you doing?
Okay, so basically, this is the best part about it. This is what really made me fall in love with it, is because I'm not physically going to the property, okay? The only time I touch that dirt is when I fill one of these jars up. That's the only time. And I have boxes of dirt on the side that I have to fill up, and like I'm building a whole dirt wall. These are all the deals that we do. And I write down like APN and how much we made and all that stuff. I'm like,
yeah,
like I said, I have like another 25 of them sitting over here to the left of me.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I just haven't put them up. Like, here I got. Here's another bag, like right here. God. So I just keep getting them. So what we do is every time, this is 3 bags actually. So every time I get what we do is we contract on a piece. I have the droner go out and they walk the dirt for me. So I never physically go to it. They walk the dirt for me. They get me a sample. They mail it back to me. I take it and I put it in the jar and hang it on the wall once it sells. And this is like my thing. So I saw this and I'm like, wait a minute. So I don't have to go there. I don't have to walk the properties. I don't have to look at the properties. I don't have to do any improvements. I don't have to do anything. And I can make 30 grand on a deal. I was like, I'm flipping houses and I look at something, ROE, return on effort. Mm-hmm. Okay. My ROE, my return on effort on a house flip, on average, depending on what you're doing, like if you really go from like contract signing to selling, you're probably about 200 hours into a deal, even if you're not doing the work, right? I'm sure you flip houses, right? It's probably around anywhere between 100 and 200 hours that you're spending on this deal, talking to contractors, fixing stuff, negotiating things, ordering material, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, like you're figuring out what is my dollar per hour essentially doing house flips, and then you start running the math on these land flips.
Yep.
And what do you start to what are you finding between the two?
So let's say like a house flip, my average I'd sometimes make 60 grand. I mean about 100 grand, or I make 30 grand. Average on a house flip, 60,000. So my ROE on that is, what is that? 60 and 200. It's like what? 300 bucks an hour.
$300
like
an hour. Mhm.
Right. I'm like, okay, 300 bucks an hour. Granted, I'm doing like 10 at a clip. So obviously there's scale there, but I'm like, I'm making $300 an hour. Well, a typical land deal is about 3 hours. And I'm still making I make between, a lot of our deals, our average right now has been about 55,000. So 3 hours, how much am I making an hour? I'm making like 20, almost 20 grand an hour, like $18,000 an hour to do land flip. And I have like, right now we have, I think we had 15 parcels listed right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you think about that. It's like, well, I have 15 of those going at one point. There's more to come and more going. So my ROE is like through the roof.
Yeah.
Right. It's a lot less talk time, a lot less things I'm doing. So
that's one of the things that, when people talk about, building a real estate business or building any business, is a lot of times we think, well, the answer to the question must be more volume. And sometimes that is the right answer, but there does come a point where you say, well, like, this is the essence of going from single family to multifamily. It's like, it's the same effort. It's just more zeros behind it. Right. And this is now what you and I are talking about, and we'll go into this in a second, but like, now you have found another platform where I don't have to scale revenue. I don't have to scale the business by volume or employees. I found a different product, or like, it's not even like a radically different strategy. It's just, I'm reselling this other thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead, like, I just basically found a way, how can I make more money per hour? And that's essentially what I started doing. I started realizing like land has the potential for me to make way higher per hour. Without a lot of the other problems that I had. Like, when you raise capital for a single family flip, you have hard money lender, some private lenders, a gap lender, things like that. You could have 2-3 lenders on a deal, and they're in second, third, they're like junior lien positions. What I love about this is I'm buying a deal for 60,000. I'm putting a lender in it with closing costs for like 65,000 in first position. Okay. And I'm giving them a guaranteed return of like 10 points. Okay. So they're going to get, if they lend me 60,000, 65,000, they're going to get back $6,500 with their 65, typically in 90 days. So I'm putting lenders in 3, 4, 5 deals a year, and they're getting like 40 and 50% returns in their money effectively, because I have such a powerful deal I know it's a product that people want. It's first position debt, so they're safe, secure. I'm buying with tons of equity, and it allows me. I know how fast these are moving because we track all the data across the entire country, so we know how fast stuff is moving. So we could say like, we only want to put lenders on these deals because they move fast.
Yeah.
So
that's I mean, and that's really the other part, especially with you and I being operators, is like, how do we also protect and give returns to our investors and our lenders, because we want them to keep coming back. And there's a lot of them who are like, here's the thing, there's a lot of people who are out there in their W-2s right now who are doing really well, maybe even love what they do. It's like, listen, you don't have to quit your job. You can lend on Dennis's project. You can lend on my project. You can still be in real estate as a lender and be in this more passive, like, you don't have to dump everything to go do this. Now we have a question over here. Keith Sheridan says, are you going from raw land to shovel ready? So are you doing any improvements to this dirt when you're flipping it?
All right. So no, not necessarily. It depends on the deal, and it depends on what the deal looks like. We've had a couple properties where we've added improvements. So like, we cut out driveways, clear 1 to 2 acres, get it ready for a builder to come in. And the only reason why we do that is sometimes like a property doesn't translate for a person. Like, they don't understand what it could look like in the future, because some people don't have like, it's a kind of like when you flip a house and the walls are yellow, people walk in there and they're like, I hate this, the yellow house. But if you paint it white or gray, they're like, oh, It's beautiful.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. All you did was change paint, cost you $600, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, we do the same thing where we'll come in and we'll say, okay, well, I think this is the best place for a home site. So let's maybe have a bush cutter come in, clear out a little bit, clear out a driveway, pour some gravel. Now, when they come in, it feels like home. They could pull right in off the road, things like that.
Right.
But we aren't putting septic in. We aren't putting electric in. We aren't putting any utilities. We aren't prepping it. We aren't getting site plans done. None of that stuff. We're buying low and selling high.
Yeah.
So that's it.
So, yeah. So I'm going to ask kind of like two questions here.
Sure.
So one, hey Dennis, like, land, like, sounds cool, bro, but I feel houses are more secure. That I would rather do that. Why do you think that's kind of the prevailing mantra out there? Like, why aren't there more people lending on land deals? If it's this lucrative, shouldn't it be a no-brainer? Why do we get this resistance?
So I actually, once somebody does a land deal their first time, like as a lender, they realize how powerful and great it is and how much better of a transaction it is, that they're like, I'm never doing houses again. Like they just like realize, they're like, so wait, I was a second or third position lender on a house flip that I was relying on other people to get jobs done, contractors showing up, towns to get permits approved, all that stuff. And if it all goes well, I get my money back with friends, right?
Yeah, if it goes well.
If
if it goes south, then I have this house and now I got to deal with it. Yeah,
exactly. Whereas this, look, worst case scenario with me, you get to own a piece of dirt that has 40% or 50% equity in it, right? Will that ever happen? Probably not. Well, no, it definitely won't. You know why? Because we'll buy it out ourselves or whatever the case may be. So if it doesn't work out with a lender, we'll buy it out. But we've never had that happen. I don't think we ever will, because we know we track demand. We see what the market is looking for. Here's the thing. In this economy, people want to own hard assets. Okay. What's a hard asset? Gold, silver, land. Those are things that people want to own. Why? It's safe, it's secure. It doesn't really fluctuate too much in value. It typically only goes up. Okay. And they're not making more of it. What we got in the dirt is what we got. We don't have more silver, more gold, like whatever. They could go find a gigantic mine of gold and then gold drops in price. But guess what? They're not going to go with a plane and find more land anywhere. It just doesn't happen. Now there's a, food for thought. If they, we occupy Mars, then it's going to be like, well, no, you have all that land over there now, but that's different. So it's a whole different.
I don't think that's going to be quite, that's like, it's different comps. You can't comp something that's 10 million miles away or whatever.
I know. Well, this is red dirt, so it's a little bit different now.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's the part that kind of spooks people. It's easy for us to conceive of comps of houses because that's you drive by houses constantly. Like this is just the way it is. Most people don't think about, wait, there is comps for like 5 or 10 acres of dirt. Like we can see what people buy. We can see the demand.
Exactly.
What?
Yeah. We look at it every day. We say, here's a 10-acre parcel in Franklin, North Carolina that there's like 7 other 10-acre parcels. They all sell for $5,500 to, $5,700 an acre. Well, what do we do? Okay, well, let's go buy more of that, because the market obviously says we want 10 acres in this area. So what we do is we track down owners that own 10 acres in these areas and we make them an offer, right? We typically offer anywhere between like 45 and 65% of a perceived market value. And then we're going and reselling it for anywhere between 90 and 95% of market value. There are times where we push comps and we try to sell it above market, and it does happen because there is this, like thing. If you keep driving the market lower by selling it 95% every time, well, then the market starts to trend down, right? So you don't want to be that person, especially if you're in a market a lot. We'll list properties above market and see what it sells for, just to test the waters. But then we'll drop it down, whatever.
Sure.
But on average, our lenders are typically being paid back out within about 60 days. So,
Okay.
with the
Yeah.
exception of a few that they're still making points. I think the longest we've gone on a deal is like 130 days, and they made 12 points. So you really can't complain
I'd
about
still
that.
take that.
Yeah, because we put them in 2 more deals, and guess what? They made 30% returns in their capital
Yeah.
that year. It's a no-brainer.
No, that's
No.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And like the important thing, obviously, like you said, is showing the track record of success.
Yes.
And then I think what's interesting here, we just talked about it. Some people who are going to watch this channel, they're going to go want to do the flips. Awesome. Go knock yourself out.
Mhm.
Other people are like, dude, I signed up for real estate because I want to make money.
Right.
What I didn't sign up for is having 3 crews flipping these houses all the time. How do I get some churn going? And you got somebody like Dennis who's like, I have the track record. I have investors who made, because I threw them into multiple deals, they basically came out with a 50% return because we were
Yeah.
churning and burning.
Yep. I had one lender who came in and he was like, let me test the waters. He's like, I do a lot of sub twos and I do a lot of flips, whatever. I lend on them all day.
Yeah.
Cool. Give me a try. Put him in a deal, $22,000, small little deal, buy for 22, sell for 65. Okay. We put him in, closed on the deal. He brought in $25,000 total with closing costs and everything. Put it on the market. One day, I got an offer. Full price ask offer. Boom. One day. I call him up, said, hey, we just signed an offer. He goes, what do you mean? I got a full price ask offer. He's like, you're kidding me. I was like, nope, close in 2 weeks. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, nope, all good. We'll be closing in 2 weeks.
This is the other thing that's really good. And I hope you guys are paying attention. Then we're gonna shift to another topic here.
Yeah.
The way Dennis is paying this out is on points.
Points.
Because what if because some people are like, well, hang on, I'm signing up as a lender because I want interest. Well, if Dennis signs up a guy on day 1, your money has no time for the interest to work. Interest is a function in time. So if Dennis is paying 10 points, he's incentivized to, he's still incentivized to get it done fast. There's no benefit to holding it for a longer period of time. So some people are like, well, I want to have interest. Like, dude, you're getting 10 points and Dennis turns this thing around in 30 days. What the hell are we even talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Because they want to get it fast in and out. So here we are. We did that deal. And within 3 weeks, got full return of capital with friends. He got his 25,000 plus 2,500 bucks. Small, right? It's not a lot, but to make 10% on your money that quick, he was like, dude, awesome. He's like, I got $5 million. Have fun. And he basically he just gave me free reign. He's like, I sold this. I just want you to go crazy. And he took that and we put him in a bunch of deals now. And I'm very safe with that stuff. Like, I don't like overextending one specific lender because you get too much, but whatever. I have him right now. He's in, I think, 6 deals with me. And this year alone, because I have a tracker, I looked at his tracker, and this year alone, with all the deals he's been in and out, I think he's made 170,000 in points alone. And it's the crazy part is it's like the same 300,000 that he's been putting in and out on deals. So it's not even like you need a lot of you don't even need a lot of money, but just enough so I could keep churning, which is the coolest part.
That's amazing.
Yep.
So Dennis, if you have access to all of this potential cap, are you lending on other land flippers deals?
Certain people, there are people that I work with that I'll lend on their deals. I'll co-partner or raise capital for them. But I want to be very safe with my lender's capital, right? Because the way I operate is different than the way others operate. They might just try to fluff the numbers to say it's a good deal. And it's probably not a good deal. Like, we've all seen those, right? Oh, this house is worth $400,000. And you look at the numbers and it's worth $250, So
seen that.
I'm very, we all have. So I'm very strict on the deals I'll work with people on. But if somebody brings a land deal and it's a good deal and I look at the numbers and I underwrite it and I'm like, hey, this is good, I'll bring in a lender. I'll bring in a lender for them. And then we're typically less than industry standard. and yeah, we'll get the job done. And
That's another part, guys. Like when you're lending to people, is like, one, make sure they're working, but then also, like, what Dennis is saying is like, hey, if I put your money to work, like, you're getting Dennis's stamp of approval, not just, I'm going to just throw your money around willy nilly and just kind of hope for the best. So that's really important. That's really important that you have somebody that you vetted, you trust. Like, Dennis is not going to just spread your money around. It's like, oh yeah, this guy, Sam, Bob, whatever the hell his name. Yeah, sounded like a good deal. I didn't really pay attention.
Yeah. And I personally guarantee everything. So if I'm putting lenders' money up, I personally guarantee it. So if something goes wrong, I have to come out of my own pocket to pay them.
Yeah.
Because that's how it should be. Right. And, I'll sell my property before anything happens. A lot of lenders or borrowers won't do that. Like, you have to.
Right. Yeah. So you've really been on all cylinders for 12 months, or it's been a little longer than that. I feel like.
Yeah, about a year and a half now, and just focused on land. Yep.
Okay. Now, as you were building this business, you obviously didn't go to 15 properties, you're listed overnight. What were some of the problems you were encountering as you were building this up?
Yeah. So the hardest thing we've had in the beginning was like finding out what a good deal is and what a good market is. And once we kind of figured out that stuff, like me and you worked a little bit together kind of when we were in our infancy stage trying to do this. And it didn't work out as we planned because some of the markets we picked at that time weren't good markets. And in hindsight, we look at it now, we're like, why did we even do that? Like,
why are we even in this market?
Yeah. And now it's like, now I reflect on that stuff and I'm like, the stuff we looked at then isn't the stuff we look at now. So now we're very strict on it, right? And we look at a lot of different things. Since we track demand, we know demand, how it's going down, and we could basically look at stuff. And if it's like a market that the demand is decreasing, then we're obviously not going to market to there, right? But we look at stuff if like stuff is increasing in an area, we're going to go there, right? So the hardest part in the beginning was finding the good markets and being in the business. You start to realize that you're not in the business of just buying and selling. You're really in the business of marketing and also building relationships, right? Like being with people and relationship business, whatever. So that was really hard. Another hard part was like the assurity that I am buying a good deal. Okay. Because you're putting a lot of faith in yourself and lenders' faith on yourself as well. Like, am I doing the right thing here? Is this a good deal? Is it actually going to sell? Now, once we've done a bunch of these, like, we started to realize, well, yeah, that we know this market. We know this is what people want. We see it. We track the demand. Everything's there. And now we're good. Now we're like, yeah, we know exactly what to do. So that, and then the people have to get the risk of capital, like your seed capital in the beginning. People get so scared of it. Like, they're like, if I spend this money, it's never coming back. And you can't think like that, right? It's going to come back with friends as long as you consistently do what you're designing yourself to do, right? So if you come up with a plan and you implement that plan based on other people's results that you know and trust, right? And follow that plan to a T, you're going to be good. Now, if you just come out here and just say, hey, we're going to throw 50 grand worth of mail out and it's going to work because Dennis said so, it's not going to happen. It's totally not. You need to have a plan. So we like sat down. We're like, okay, let's build like a 6-month budget. Let's go through. What's our ascension plan? How do we scale this? How do we scale that? Everything, right?
Yeah. I know one of the biggest problems, you and I have talked about this, was it's like, okay, we got to identify if the market has demand. But the other thing that we're realizing is, hey, if we just send out mailers to everybody in the universe, that land comes back. We're like, we can't buy this one. This one's not usable. This one sucks. This one sucks. And then it's like one out of however many. So that was a huge thing you guys worked on too, was making sure it's the market and the parcel. Do we even want the stupid thing?
Yeah, that's the other thing. So when we worked together, we just marketed to everything. If there was 10,000 vacant tracts in an area, we mailed out 10,000 letters. And we'd get back a bunch of calls for like land we don't want. We totally made this huge mistake, right? And that's just a waste of capital. So we said, okay, how can we be more picky in the front end and yield better results in the back end. So
Mhm.
what we did is we implemented a 20-point scrubbing. So we basically pull all 10,000 parcels, and then we have people manually going in, pulling up the parcel, looking at it, every single one, and
Mhm.
they look at it and we categorize it in a 1 through 20 scale. And we say this is a prime property, it's double-sided road frontage, more than 5 acres, blah blah blah, all that stuff. Then like, okay, this is a good normal parcel, square, all your regular stuff, has road frontage. Okay, odd shape, whatever. So we go through every single parcel, and what that does is we eliminate 75% of the parcels. So now we just said, okay, 10,000 records, we're only mailing 2,500 of the good ones, right?
But Dennis, that takes so long to do.
Does.
That's so long to do all that. That can't be efficient. That
Mhm.
can't be the right answer.
Yep. Totally not efficient, right? Yeah. It's dude training people. Once we trained the right people and found the right seats, right butts for the right seats, we were good to
Mhm.
go. We have three full-time scrubbers right now that all they do is scrub data. That's their entire job, is scrubbing data. And they sit there, they look it up, they categorize it. We have probably over 200,000 good records right now. And the cool thing about this, Jeff, is once we do it once, we never have to go back to that county again.
Because they're not making any more dirt.
They're
Unless
not
you're
making
like
more dirt.
in Dubai and making islands and hotels and crap, but you know
One
that's
day.
probably a different animal.
But yeah, exactly. So like now we know all these 5-acre parcels. The parcel's not going to change shape over time. It's not going to do this. Will people build on them? Yeah. Will people cut them up, subdivide them? Yeah. But every year, guess what we do? We re-pull that data, stack it, see if there's any changes in the APNs. Like if they split it up into like 2 parcels, it'll say 101B, 101A, right? Whatever the case may be. Okay, great. Well, now we don't want that anymore. Get rid of those. Let's only keep the ones that are good. So we just stack that data every year, and we own that list. We have it. It's like I could just start a business selling my records if I wanted to. You know, that's a whole other story.
You'll probably get a few DMs about that after this episode is over.
Can you just buy your list? Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man.
I know.
Awesome.
And that's the coolest thing about this business too, is like everybody talks about like wholesaling. It's red ocean, right? There's blood in the water. It's crazy. There's a lot of people in it.
Yeah.
With land, it's not sexy, so people don't want to do it. Okay. So 10 land investors can work the same market and all have success. And it's crazy to think like I could give all my lists away to you. You could mail them and then I could mail them. We'll both have success.
Yeah.
Because it's just a timing thing.
I'm already imagining this TV show that apparently you and I are going to do, the Dirty Money TV show. It's just kind of like, so we're at another piece of dirt today. It's like, this is the same one. It's like, it's totally different.
It's different. We have 1,700 feet of road frontage. The other one only had 1,500.
Yeah, super interesting. Yeah, I don't feel like A&E is really going to be interested in this show, and that's sad. That makes me sad.
It is. It is sad. It's really sad. Because guess what? I don't have a nice kitchen and a nice, professional stove and put in there,
Correct.
It's a different business.
It's like you said, it's not colorful, it's not bright, it's not particularly that interesting. You go out there, there's grass, there's trees, hooray. There's nothing, there's nothing to see, so it's not appealing. But what's appealing is like, I mean, there's been so many people, the YouTubers and all that. You see, it's like the things that aren't sexy, you can make a killing on because it's not sexy.
Yeah.
Like that's the reason.
Yep. It's like boring businesses, Cody Sanchez, right?
Yes.
All about boring businesses. That's another whole thing. Like we have we started a cleaning business. It's a boring business, right? But guess what? It makes money. It makes money. This is a boring business. This is the boring side of real estate. Right. And this is where you want to be. Honestly, it's the best part about it.
Yeah, no joke. All right, so Dennis, how do people get in touch with you? I'm gonna put your name in the description and all the things. How do people reach out to you?
I'd say email. You could just email us info@cashforlandusa.com. that's probably the best way, because myself and Rob and my VAs will, be able to touch base with everybody. And yeah, if anybody wants to reach out, chat, I'm available anytime. If you want to learn about land or any of this stuff, I'm available. Jeff's available. Let's talk about it. I love it.
Yeah, cool. So that brings us to our next point. You and I, we tried working together about a year and a half ago when you were getting started, and we hooked a couple of contracts, and then they didn't work out, and it's like, okay, such is life. Not everything works. But now we've come back together, and we're like, hey, we're going to take this up a level. So, Dennis, what are we doing? I forgot what the whole plan was.
So what was really cool is, like, about a year ago, me and Jeff planted a seed, right? And that seed has now sprouted, and now it's growing, right? And we're at this point where now, when we were a year ago doing these little land flips, now we're like, let's just, instead of buying one deal and selling one deal, let's buy one parcel and chop it up and sell 25. So what we're working on now is doing minor subdivisions, which is a subdivide exemption rule throughout all the states, where basically you could chop up a parcel without getting approval from zoning and all this stuff. You don't have to jump through a lot of hoops. You can basically just come, survey it, plat it, boom, list it and sell it. So we're working right now in a couple different markets. We have a bunch of deals we're looking at. We're looking to buy 100-acre plus deals that we could then chop up and then sell 10-acre parcels, 20-acre parcels. Or when we work in Montana, we'll be buying 1,600-acre parcels and selling 160 acres, So that's what we're doing now. So it's good, because now we're hitting this scale point, right? And eventually we're going to scale into entitlements.
Yeah.
And dispo to large builders. That's kind of the ascension plan that we're working on right now. So
yeah. So we're working on the subdivide. So everybody, like, if Dennis is buying 10 acres at 50 cents on the dollar, selling it at full price. So imagine if we take down 100 or 200 acres and do the same thing. It's just the number of zeros has increased and a little more paperwork, quite frankly.
Exactly. It's kind of like when you go to Costco, you buy a case of water, a 36 pack costs you $5, right? Well, we're buying water at Costco, and then we're going to a baseball game and selling it for $4 a bottle. That's what we're doing. Because as the quantity gets smaller, right, your price goes up. It's basically what we're doing. So that's the goal with subdivisions. Is it's also easier for people to buy, right? A lot of people can't come out and buy $1.5 million piece of land, right? Can't do it. It's really hard. It's expensive. Who's got $1.5 million sitting around, right? What they can buy, though, is a 5-acre ranchette that they could still have their little homestead on and do their thing, but they don't have to worry about all the other stuff. They come out of pocket, pull out a HELOC, whatever the case may be, buy a $70,000 piece of land. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So that's pretty exciting. And Dennis and I will obviously report back to everybody on how this develops and grows of our ultimate master plan here. So, as far as these properties here, it's interesting. When a lot of people think of real estate investing, again, they think of house flips, or maybe some people watching this are like, yeah, I got to go out and do the land flips. But our big message right now, and I hope everybody's heard this, is no matter which real estate investor you guys go and find, the number one problem they're going to have is what? Capital.
Yep.
It's always the biggest issue that stops them from growing. And so if Dennis and I, so right now, Dennis and I, we are chasing this 270-acre parcel. We're working on it. Yeah. And right now, it looks like we have to buy the land for like 1.5 million or 1/7, something like that is where it's going to land. But then we're going to have to probably throw down maybe another 100,000 in a water line and a couple other improvements. Right. So the deal is there, but Dennis and I don't have $2 million lying around.
Oh, you don't? I thought it was under your chair.
Well, no? I mean, that's my rainy day fund. But, but for anybody, again, who's listening and you're like, wait a second, I can get some pretty significant returns and not have to know all of this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to go out there and swing hammers or do any of this stuff. How do I get big returns? Is why, like, this is part of the reason the podcast is to show you guys what opportunities are out there for those of you who want to do it. And for some of you who say, I don't want to do it, I just want the money. How do I do that?
Right.
So yeah. So
Yeah.
be sure you reach out to us for more detail. We'll probably do a YouTube stream later when that thing's contracted with the plan and what we're going to do. So stay tuned to our channels as these projects come. They're going to be big, and we want to help other people get their financial freedom they want, and maybe that's through lending, and maybe that's through doing these projects.
Yeah. I have a friend. He's a longshoreman, and I mean, he makes a lot of money in his job, but he works 100+ hours a week. So he lends a lot of his money to us, and he's like almost at an inflection point where he's making enough money lending that he doesn't even have to work. So he's like, I could just do this, and just retire. And that's kind of what we're going down. Hell, I'd love to get all of his longshoreman buddies and have them pool together and buy this deal with us. That'd be awesome. But
that'd be wild.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys out there that have the capital. They just don't have a safe investment. The stock market is good, but you never know what's going to happen. You can't. This is the thing about this deal and land in general and real estate in general. I can't put $1.5 million into Johnson & Johnson and then go sit in their board meetings and tell them they got to do better with their baby powder to make more money for me. Right? It just doesn't happen. I'm at their.
Did you try that once?
I did. It didn't work out. I got kicked out. So, but yeah, so I can't do that. But guess what I can do? If I put $1.5 million in a piece of land, I could then improve it and subdivide it and triple the value.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a no-brainer. It's such a safe investment over anything else in my eyes,
Yeah. I mean, when you're doing it right, when you have an operator like Dennis who knows what's going on, who's done so many of these things, right? Then it's like, it's yes, vet the person. You always have to vet the person, and you have to vet the deal. Like, we're going to present this to you guys and all the numbers. We're going to show you, okay, how we're running this thing. But, as a lender, there's some other, excellent podcasts and other instructions out there on how to lend and lend properly. But then the thing you should also ask is like, okay, Dennis, Jeff, you want to borrow my money? Cool. Tell me how you're going to make sure I'm protected. And if we don't have the right answers for you, if we get one of these answers wrong, be like, sorry, I'm out.
Yep.
Right. Exactly. We are not like, hey, trust me, bro. It's like, no, trust but verify.
Yeah. We back it up with numbers. And deals like this, we always have CMAs and appraisals done. And actually what I've implemented in my business, because we've had 2 deals go where we basically broke even, and I don't like doing that. My lender still made their money. That's the whole thing. That's the most important thing to me. But we had 2 deals that we ended up having basically made $1,000, right? Because there just wasn't enough spread after the lender gets paid for us to make money. And I'm like, how can I stop this? Right? So what I've implemented now, any deal that we plan on purchasing that's going to have a value of over $100,000, we're getting a full appraisal on it, like a walking appraisal where they actually walk on the property and tell us, hey, based on this, you could go get a loan from a bank for $100,000 or whatever the case may be. And what does that do? So if I'm buying it for 55, I go to my lender and say, look, I'm buying this at 55,000. You're going to be all in for 60. It's worth from a bank 100.
Yeah.
Right. No brainer. It's a no brainer deal. You have 40% equity all day. Right.
Yeah.
So that's another backstop we implemented, is things like that.
Does that help your end buyer too when they go to qualify? Or at least gives them some more peace of mind.
It helps my end buyer, but it also helps me in my negotiating with my end buyer, because now my end buyer comes in and says, I'll give you 75. And I'm like, I don't know what this thing's actually worth. Is that all it's worth? 75? Right? I don't know. But now if they offer me 75, they'd be like, nah, bud, it's 100 on paper right here. You could give me 95, I'll take it. But yeah, because they're going to get their own appraisal anyways for their bank. So
So with the subdivides, So we're
Mhm.
there's one property. There's another parcel we're looking at. It's over in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, outside Charlotte. And so sometimes, guys, with subdivides, there are some that require literally no improvements at all. It's just
Mhm.
all on paper.
Yep.
With the 270 we're talking about outside of Waco in McLennan County, that one's going to have some water piping, but
Yep.
that is it. The one in Mecklenburg County, though, we don't. It looks we're going to have to put in a road. And
Mhm.
is there any other improvements we're going to have to do?
That one's mostly a road. We don't have to. So by their rules, you don't have to put a paved road. It just has to be a gravel road,
Mhm.
and you don't have to extend water lines. So what happens is because you're in this 10-acre exemption, you don't have to do all that stuff. Now, if let's say the furthest parcel from the main road decides they want to chop it up into 5 lots, right? Well, when they go to chop it up, they have to extend the water and pave the road all the way to that back parcel because now they're falling under a different jurisdiction. It's no longer a 10-acre exemption. That would
Mm.
be a major plat or like a subdivision itself, right? So that basically would happen there. So this one is just gravel road, some clearing and things like that. Pretty simple. I mean, it's not too relatively comparatively, it's not that expensive when you're talking about like how much value you're increasing on it. But overall, it does, it is more money you have to spend on the upfront. But the best part about this is like we're not spending this money because we hope we're going to get this much. We know that these deals sell for this, so we
Yeah.
know by doing this we get this. There's direct cause and effect.
So okay. So just for those who aren't into this, I mean, Dennis, if we can put in a road and get this kind of money, I mean, certainly it makes sense to put in septic and cut down trees and put up fences and stuff. I mean, at
Mhm.
minimum, we should be doing that, right?
Right? Yeah, totally. No, the reason why, because your idea of a property is different than my idea of a property. Okay. So I'm not going to go spend money doing all this stuff and putting in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath septic when the person that wants to come there wants to build a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, right? How would I
And they
know
want
what
the
they want
septic
to
over
do?
there.
Exactly. Because their home, they want it over there. So why would I go in and do all the utilities and all this upfront work to sell it for more? They're not value adders, they're value retainers, is the way I kind of look at it, right?
Mm.
If I go put a $30,000 septic in there, I'm not adding like double the value, right? I'm not increasing the lot value by 60K, 80K. I'm taking a $100,000 lot, spending $30,000 on it, and guess what I'm going to go sell it for? 130,000. I didn't increase the value. I just put money in there and I'm selling it for the same amount as I would have sold before. The spreads
Yeah.
is still the same.
Yeah.
So it's not a value adder. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's such a good point because I know that was one of the things when I was thinking about, when I did my first subdivide was, well, am I going to have to go put up like a wood fence or anything? And the, realtor and the consultant I was working was like, no, you do nothing. Just file the plat,
Yep.
get it on paper, post that it's for sale, and the buyers come in and they, like Dennis just said, everyone, they want to configure it how they want.
Mm-hmm.
The more stuff we add, the less customization they can do.
It's like
Right.
limiting your buyer pool,
Yeah.
painting your house yellow. Guess what? Less people are going to want to look at it. Because if you go put up a brown fence, but everybody wants a white fence, well, they're going to
What
be
are you
like, I'm
doing?
not buying this because now I got to tear down a $25,000 fence to put up another $25,000 fence because I want
Right.
a white.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
Now,
there's
what we
no
did,
need
what
to
we
do that.
did observe, what I did observe is that there was some of the buyers on our lots, or one of them, he came back and said, well, can you guys put in a well for me and then like bake that into the note?
Mhm.
And
Sure.
we said, well, no, not
Okay.
unless you're going to pay us double than what we're going to install for. But oh, by the way, here's a well provider down the street, and they actually will do loans.
Mhm.
So sometimes, guys, you're doing these things like it's not even that they're asking it for bad reasons. Just like have the resources available to make some of these things easier to do.
Yeah, exactly. So like in an instance like that, it's like if they want us to pay for the $5,000 well or whatever the case may be, I would say, well, instead of you giving us $25,000 as a down payment, give us the 25,000. We'll give you a $5,000 seller credit at closing that you could then use to go put your well in. Right? They're still paying us the same amount. I'm not getting in on the hook for the well, but they have the capital still to go ahead and do it. Right? So there's like getting creative in that sense helps.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but the less, and it's not because we don't want to do the work. That's not the reason why we do this stuff. The whole point is there's no reason to improve something that doesn't need improvement. You know, that's really what it is.
So with some of your land parcels, have you sold all of them in cash where the buyer brings their own financing, or have you had to sell some of them on notes?
So we haven't done many notes, mostly because our cost basis doesn't allow a lot of it. So if we're buying a property for $55,000 and selling it for $110,000, most people aren't going to come in with a $55,000 or $60,000 down payment to cash out our lender, right? So it just doesn't make sense for us to accept those offers when they do want to do seller finance, because even if we take them and go sell the note, it still doesn't move the needle, right? Because now we have to sell the note at, let's say they come in with 20% down, that's $80,000 note. Now I got to go sell that note for 80 or 70%. Well, I just cut off like a 20 grand of my profit by selling this on seller finance. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right. Just to move a deal. I'd rather just wait for a cash offer, even if it's a little bit lower. I still get the deal closed and I don't have anything else I have to worry about.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's something we got to deal with. So, you know, a lot of times, guys, when you're selling these pieces of land, you know, especially when we do subdivides, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to ask us for financing. We'll say,
sure,
cool, like we'll do it, but it's going to require this bump up in price because we got to sell the notes on the back end. So note investing is something we'll talk about in another issue, guys. But there are, you know, another avenue again of investing is like you can lend to me and Dennis on these projects. And, you know, we'll have, you know, some of them Dennis will have wrapped up in like 60 days. The subdivide, this might take 8-10 months to get all 27 lots sold because there's a lot of supply. But there are also something where you can buy notes where someone bought the land, they're paying like 10% interest or 12% on a 15-year note. You can buy that note and they're paying you are the bank, and you usually get a discount. Some of these guys want like 20 and 25% IRR on a returning note.
Yeah.
Which I was like, that's pretty awesome.
That is awesome. That's the best part about this too, is like now you're on the inside track too. So you know what these deals come from. And the coolest part about doing this is like when you're buying these larger parcels, chopping them up, you hit that economy of scale. So you could do these seller finance deals because you're at scale. Because let's say you sell 5 on notes and the rest on cash, right? Well, those 5 on notes, you've made your money on the cash deals. Those 5 on notes, then you could sell them for a bit of a discount. You still made a good return, right? That's all it really is. It's just other ways to increase that return and whatever the case may be.
Yeah. So again, for people watching, you know, again, I'm going to hit the same message a few times. Like, you know, I'm going to share with you knowledge. Some of you guys are going to want to do this. Go for it. Encourage you to do it. We'll collab with you. Some of you guys are thinking, I just want the money. I want you guys to operate and I just want the cash. So it's basically like we've shown you 3 models. And again, like I'm not saying this just solely out of the goodness of my heart. It's because we are always trying to raise money as real estate. But like, this is what we have to do. You can lend on the land flips with Dennis and he'll have a few deals for you. Of course, whenever you do flips, you're constantly looking for the next deal. So sometimes it slows you down. Second thing you can do is on these larger subdivides, it's going to take a little bit longer, but you can probably get some interest in there. Or if you're like, I just want my money to exercise and I don't want to have to flip it around and screw with it all the time. I just want the returns. Maybe you're a note buyer. Yeah. So it's to figure out what of these products do I like and what do I want to participate in? Yeah.
Like I love to tell people like be a hybrid investor, right?
Exactly.
Buy a couple notes, buy a couple things and do some active deals, right? That's what some of my lenders do. They have a couple notes they own and they make some residual income off that. and then they just have extra money that they flip in and out of deals. And they want to have their money always working. Unfortunately, the way the marketing works, sometimes we get 6 or 7 deals in a month we have to fund. Sometimes there's only 1 or 2, right?
Right.
It's just how it is. So we have to kind of like, pick and choose which lender gets what at times. But the coolest thing about these bigger deals is you're in it for much longer. You're in it for a longer time. You get to hang out with us. You get to do these things. And then by the time this deal exits, because these are longer runways, we could throw you right into another deal, because the next one should be closing up pretty soon. And it doesn't just have to be one person with $1.5 million. You could grab 4, 5, 6 people, buddy up, create an LLC, and then lend on the deal for us. So like if you have a couple people that just sold a couple houses and things like that and looking to make some extra money, boom, let's pull it all together and like let's go be investors on this deal. So it's really cool.
Yeah. Lots of things.
Yep.
Well, guys, this has again been our second episode. Dennis, thanks for coming in, spending some time. Guys, if you don't know Dennis, go check out his YouTube channel. I got it here as the comment for you. He gives so much knowledge for free on his channel. Like, if you ever heard someone's like, man, like I'm afraid if I give too much knowledge, they're gonna like Dennis is giving all the knowledge. Like you could watch his YouTube channel and figure the whole thing out. But reach out to him. Info at Cash for Land USA. But before you do, guys, go watch his channel, understand what exactly he's looking for and how he identifies it's a good parcel. Okay. You want to get on Dennis's good side, tell him I watch the stuff. I think I understand what you want. Here's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Okay. If you just say, hey, dude, I found a piece of land. It's out in the middle of Alaska. Like, come on, bro. Like you got to try a little bit to show that you're putting in the effort.
Yeah, I know. And I every Wednesday I do a weekly live, 2:30 EST. And we just talk about land. This is what we do. I go in, I'll price markets, I'll underwrite deals. We'll talk about case studies of deals we've done in the past, all different types of things. This Wednesday, I'm actually going to be doing a case study. It's a deal that we did a double close on. It was a buy for, what did we buy? We bought it for $55,000. We just sold it for, we bought it for $65,000, just sold it for $125,000. So we're going to do a full case study, how I went, picked that market, how I went through, did the deal, double closed it, the whole 9. So next week I'll be doing that one. So yeah, anybody wants, hop on. I'll ask questions, whatever you want to do. We'll be there.
Awesome.
So
all right, guys, that's Dennis. Thank you again so much, Dennis, for being here. Guys, we will see you next time on Dirty Money.
Later. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.